Getting your first sponsorship deal is hard. Retaining it, growing it, developing that relationship is even harder. And this is why today we're going to talk about 3 tips that I gained in my 15 years of experience working in digital marketing to help you achieve more sustainable future for your creator brand. How are we doing it? Well, we first need to ask ourselves these 2 questions, right? How do you turn on that one-off sponsorship that you receive for the first time into something of an ongoing relationship? And then you also wonder, hey, how do I make sure that my audience is not frustrated by the type of sponsors that I acquire? Because ultimately, if you have the viewership and the viewership is happy, the sponsors will eventually come. Last thing you want to do is damage that relationship, that parasocial relationship that you have with your viewers. And let me tell you, once in a while, VPN advertising is okay, but when I see folks advertising completely unrelated type of brands to their viewers, that doesn't only take away from the actual quality of the video, but it actually will frustrate the viewer. Because the last thing you want them is to wonder whether you as a creator actually understand why they're viewing your videos in the first place. But before we get into all of this fun and juicy stuff, let's first answer a very simple question that I'm sure is on your mind. Why the heck would you be listening to me? And the answer is very simple. I've done this for quite a while. I've been studying the creator economy for quite a few years. You see some stats on the slide. I also have been managing the business operations and working with marketing, working with sales for the past 15 plus years in various different sides of companies. In my personal goal, when it comes to my career going forward, is to help you creators achieve that financial independence. And I have this audacious goal to ensure that instead of just 3% of global marketing spend, the creator economy receives 50% of that spend. It's very audacious, it's very aggressive, but we're gonna make it happen. Now, you didn't come here to learn about me. So let's talk about the fun subject of marketing funnel. And this is your first tip from me to you, is that you really wanna understand where on this marketing funnel do they see you and the campaign that they're about to engage with you on? Because there are different levels of marketing, right? There's this awareness level where you essentially try to blast your message to as many people as possible so that they're aware of the brand, of the product, of a certain campaign going on. There's this qualified lead level where essentially you already kind of like roughly know who you're after and you want to just whittle out any kind of like spam and really help your brand to find those unique qualifying leads as a marketer. And then as a marketer, the next goal for you is to convert them, to actually get them to buy the product or service that you offer. So that's the conversion period. And then it's all about the retention. You continuously need to message to your audience, to your clients that, hey, we're working on these great innovative things. There are a lot of new things that are happening in our space. And essentially that becomes that cycle, right? You kind of like continuously going through it. You continuously acquire as a brand more individuals into that awareness layer. You dump them into the more qualified lead where you understand, yes, they're really the right audience for our product. Then they go and they hopefully convert, and then it's all about the retention. And so for you as a creator, if we look back at the screen, you really need to understand, okay, are you with your campaign right now that you're about to engage belong to the awareness channel? And then it means you really just focus on one thing. You focus completely on going for more and more views. And if you have a small type of audience, a very niche subject, that might actually not be the best place to do it unless they're specifically after your audience. Then maybe they are here to help qualify the leads that they essentially now want to go jump further in the funnel. And your message can be one of those conversion tools. There's essentially the content that you create helps those leads that are maybe somewhere between that awareness and qualified level to really understand, no, this is the right product for me. And that can be through education, through demonstration of the product. It can be the product review. So there are a lot of different ways by which you can create the type of content that helps kind of like transition from the awareness to the qualified lead and help confirm for the brand that, yes, these are the individuals who you should be going in and providing that service or product. And then there's a conversion itself. Maybe the whole call to action, the whole purpose of your video is to help drive through the placement of the ad in your content, that conversion, right? Go download the app, go sign up for the service, sign up for the trial, maybe even here's the link, purchase the product. And in some cases, retention can be also, it's very similar to the awareness. When it comes to content creation, the brand might hire you to essentially talk about all these cool, amazing features that the current user of this software might not be aware of today, simply because they're just not consuming, right? They're not consuming that kind of like marketing content elsewhere. So they are there consuming your videos. And so if they're consuming your videos already, that essentially means that the brand can place their ad within your content and remind them like, hey, these are all the amazing cool features that are coming up. So as a creator, you really want to understand from the brand specifically, where do you belong? Where is this campaign at? And how can you help achieve the right KPIs, key performance indicators? Because awareness will be all about the eyeballs and the number of eyeballs. Qualified lead will be in ensuring you get the right amount of very highly qualified individuals who are almost ready to buy. Conversion will obviously like how many apps were downloaded, how many people converted into free trial, and retention will be probably very similar to the awareness. The natural question is, how do you go about it? Well, go and ask the individual who reached out, ask them this question, really try to understand where this campaign is at, how many people are involved, and what is their current goal for it. Because once you know it, you can actually work with them through your video, through the positioning of the ad within your video on how to best achieve that outcome. And this will also show you as a much more intelligent creator, because a lot of the creators who will pick up those sponsorship will be just excited to get one. And here you are asking very intelligent questions. And now that you showed off a little bit of your intellect and you showed that you're aware of how the marketers think through placing their brand sponsorship ads, now it's time to ask the next question. Do you guys align on the value that you provide to your audience? This is an important question because, as I mentioned before, your audience is used to consuming certain type of content, and your content provides certain type of value. And I'll come back to this slide in a second, but they always hire you to do a very specific job. And the way you can think about it is that each video has a certain job, certain role to fulfill. It's like a cup of coffee. For some people, a cup of coffee is a boost of energy. For some people, a cup of coffee is an excuse to call someone for, a social interaction, just meet up and hang out, have a date. For some people, the cup of coffee, they don't even care about it. It's more of a way to reserve a table in a coffee shop, right? So there are multiple different jobs that the coffee cup can do. And same goes for content. And you have to ask yourself, why is viewer hiring you? And am I satisfying that specific job with my content? Because naturally, as you start thinking about where you fall, right? And this kind of like the circles that I usually draw is that you can be within the educate space, you can be inform and entertain, or somewhere in between. Someone like Mark Rober, he's probably somewhere between educate and entertain. Someone, I don't know, like Johnny Harris is probably between educate and inform, right? From the type of communication that he provides. But everyone belongs somewhere on this Venn diagram. And so when you start kind of like backtracking and start thinking about your role and what kind of value do you provide through this framework, you have to ask the same type of question from the product that you're about to advertise or the service you're about to advertise. Because if the content you provide provides value A, and then the type of product or service that you're about to advertise to your audience provides value Z, there's going to be a lot of confusion. Think about it this way. If you're a cooking channel, it's okay and it's very normal and expected, say, for your viewer to see you doing a brand sponsorship read for like Maiden, right? Like, or some other brand that creates some sort of like cooking supplies. It's a very different thing if all of a sudden you will start offering them an advertisement for some sort of SaaS solution, or maybe you're offering them the money savings tools. Like, they're there in the mindset of, I need to learn how to cook or learn certain recipe, and you're there trying to peddle them some idea about the VPN. Nothing against VPN advertisers though. All of us have to start somewhere, so it's okay to start at the very beginning, but you have to consider the kind of value the audience is here for, and whether you advertising some brand that offers completely different value will completely or risk completely confusing your audience. And once you land that part, once you understood, okay, yes, our values align, I'm a cooking channel, I teach them how to cook, you provide the tools for cooking, it expands or augments the value that the viewer receives from watching your content. And of course, as part of it, you also need to understand that, yes, you both, the brand and yourself, you address the same type of audience. If all of a sudden they show up, they might be trying to advertise some sort of mobile app for the kids. And if you know your audience is much older than that, this should be one of those flags that you wave and you say, hey guys, I don't think we have the right alignment here. Because yes, the money is great. Yes, that revenue is always helpful, but creating that kind of partnership where your values are not aligned and you're addressing different audiences will just frustrate you, frustrate the audience, and will frustrate the sponsor. So no one's going to be happy. And sure, you're going to have a few extra bucks in the bank account. And if you really have to, we have to do what we have to do. But if you have an opportunity to say no, those are the scenarios. Say no to misalignment on the brand values. Say no to misalignment on the type of value the brand and you deliver to the audience, and definitely say no in those cases where the type of audience that you create content for is completely different from the type of audience the brand is actually going after. And all of this neatly brings us into one final point, is that you better make sure you're easy to do business with. And there are 3 points to it that we're about to discuss. Let's first reset. Companies do not hire people. People hire people. It applies when you're going for a particular job or a position. The same thing applies when you're trying to create a brand sponsorship. So whenever you think about the brand, don't think about the brand from the perspective of who you're creating the relationships. Think about the people within that organization. And this is that step 1 that I recommend. You need to prioritize folks in the company over the organizations. You need to understand what are they after and what kind of goals they're trying to achieve. Because, and yet again, this is an important lesson, you might fully focus on KPIs because of the fact that they told you those are the KPIs, those are the key performance indicators, the metrics they're trying to hit. I would ask, what would make that individual you're working with look good in front of their boss? Because do you really think people just love numbers? No, they want to do a great job. And this is an important distinction. I think people overthink it when it comes to working and creating this kind of partnerships because they think about all these KPIs and all this important data that is absolutely crucial to understand whether everything is performing well. But ultimately, those individuals, whether they're at the agency or the company who hire us as creators, they just want to do a great job so that they can continue receiving their paycheck and they look great in front of their bosses. So by you understanding what kind of goals and what kind of things that they need to accomplish individually to make sure that they look great in front of their boss, and you contributing to that will create that bond, that very strong relationship that you can maintain through LinkedIn, through text messages and emails. And the great part is that you will be able to maintain that relationship between the companies. So if someone really enjoyed working with you, they really saw how you ask them and you understand the value that they need to provide to their bosses, they will hire you again and again and again as they move between different companies, because they will say, hey, this individual, they really get me. They understand what kind of things I need to achieve, and I can trust them with my career. And trusting someone with your career, it's the kind of level of trust that impacts your livelihood and impacts people around you. This is the kind of bond that will carry you for years to come. So when it comes to these kind of engagements, always ensure you prioritize people and you really understand what people are after and create that relationship with individuals at those brands. Even if it's hard at first, start having the conversation, start talking, start asking them about what kind of things that they're trying to achieve and move from there. And the other part is, of course, to set the clear expectations. And you ensure that as you progress through developing that campaign, you really understand, okay, the clear expectation is that I'm going to deliver X number of seconds of read within the video within a certain period of time, right? Like 2 weeks from now, there's going to be a video that I'm going to post, and within that video, there's going to be a 30-second break. That's the first level of expectations. Then do you follow the script? Do you not follow the script? Do you do something of your own? Can you play off as a couple of different characters? Can you create the whole universe like some people do in their videos about certain ad placements? There are a lot of different things you can do, but you have to set a very clear expectations with the brand sponsor to ensure that you are not only delivering on those values and you really understand what they're after, but that the expectations around how that's all going to look will also honor their expectations and their ideas. Doesn't mean you cannot push back or politely discuss and negotiate, but you have to start somewhere, and that somewhere is really understanding what do they expect and can you deliver on those expectations. And from there, the final point that you need to bring is really skills in communication, transparency, and always maintain both. You always need to ensure you're consistently talking to them. Something works great, tell them. Something doesn't work, tell them. You like certain parts of the script, great. You don't like certain parts of the script, tell them. Always maintain that communication. The worst thing you can do in business is surprise someone. People don't like surprises in business. Let me repeat again. People hate surprises when it comes to business. Surprise means we did not expect it, we did not plan it, people did not plan around it when it comes to communication upwards to their leaders and downwards to their teams. It's going to create a lot of confusion, and you're going to make the individual who works with you look worse. So you better ensure that you have very clear communication lines and you always keep each other appraised on where you are. And if you do all these 3 things, you develop that individual personal relationship, you set clear expectations, and you continuously communicate, you will be a joy to work for. I'm telling you this right now. Any brand that is setting up marketing campaigns is under a lot of stress. They want to hit certain goals, there are certain targets, the company needs to perform. Even if the campaign with you doesn't achieve the same results as they expected, knowing that they can trust you, knowing that they have personal relationship with you, and seeing how good of a communicator you are and how deeply you want to understand what they're trying to achieve will put you on a completely different level. That next time they run a campaign, they might think that the campaign was set up incorrectly and they will tweak the campaign, but they will maintain the relationship with you. And this is how you build that strong, long-lasting relationship instead of just a one-off advertisement. You cannot do it with everyone, right? Not every brand would want to have the long-term relationship with a creator. Not every brand works with you directly. There are agencies involved. Agencies can be very much kind of like, hey, well, let's hire 100 creators and work with them. But it doesn't mean you do not attempt to ask those questions, to understand where you're in the funnel, to understand whether you have a match of the value and the audience you're trying to address, and create that personal relationship where you're easy to do business with. All of those combined, whether it's an agency or a brand, whether it's a one-off brand deal for now, they will all leave with a very positive experience of working with you. And that will ensure that even if the next brand opportunity is not coming until like a year from now with the same brand, or if they're not ready yet to create long-term commitment, you will still create that positive experience, that positive influence that you're going to have on individuals on that side of a company. And as I said, maybe some of them will leave and move to other companies. Maybe they will try and approach the campaign in a different way, or maybe they will decide and they will get the budget to have a long-term campaign. And guess who they'll think about? Just some random creator who, yes, maybe has a lot of views, but doesn't ask those deep questions, or you, who really took their time to understand the values, to understand the placement of the funnel, and to really understand how they can help the individual on that side of the sponsorship brand the best. So I hope these tips were useful. If you're curious, if you want to ask more questions, if you want to understand a little bit more about me, check out these two links. It's essentially my personal website, and bio site has all of my contact information. You can reach out. We can always chat about it. I just enjoy talking and helping creators achieve that financial independence. So if you have a certain brand you're deciding how to approach, or you like some of the ideas, but you want to really like double click and decide like, is this something applicable to you? How do you apply it to your day-to-day? How do you maybe teach your team who is communicating with the brands on how to apply these lessons? Let me know, reach out. As I mentioned, I'm very much ingrained in the idea of that the creators of the future. The creators will lead the small businesses. And so we better help those CMOs, VPs of marketing to understand the value and how can they extract that value from partnerships with the creators. Hopefully we push that envelope a little bit further. We create that financial independence for the creators. We attract more funds towards the creator economy. And that checks both of my boxes, which means I'm happy as well. I'll see you next Saturday. Peace.